Alrighty. It is stream timey and I am back. We're going to be working on the flying car food truck that we were working on whenever it was our last stream. If you don't remember, we were working on the flying food truck for the Flying Cars Challenge from Home 3D, and my decision was to go for a flying food truck because that seemed different. What we had come up with was basically a very simple design so far. We just blocked it in. I have worked on it a little bit off stream, but not a hell of a lot. You may see that I have done a little paint over. So paint over is basically where I took the previous version, which I think was Food Truck 3. So this was the version at the end of the previous stream. And I brought that into a painting program and just sort of refine the shape. So you can see the image over there in the bottom right is sort of what it looked like at the end of the stream. And then I just sort of went over it, painted over some things to sort of just get an idea of how I want to change the shapes. I didn't quite like how the shape of this sort of curvy, sort of fendery thing over there would be. So I painted over that, changed the shape of the doors, and just you'll see the little red lines is where I sort of thought, no, maybe we need to change the little shape of the angles and stuff. So it's a nice way to just sort of, you got your base mesh, you do your paint over just sort of how you want to refine that, and then you can go in and refine it using that. So it's just another technique in the toolbox, basically. So this is how it looked at the end of that first stream, and then I spent an hour to just refining that shape, getting some curve in there, getting the door perhaps looking a little bit better. It is not quite right. But it's feeling a little bit better. We've got some more angles in the shape of the little canopy window thing there. What I was thinking today, we just want to refine the shapes a little bit more and maybe start breaking it up into pieces for like the individual bits. So like we want to have the little door section for, where you serve your food as a separate piece, the actual door as a separate piece, the main body as a piece, and then we can, refine those later on as well. So that's I think the plan, and also just to refine it a little bit more to fit the paint over sort of thing that we did. So I want to change some of the shapes a little bit more. If I go into just like 2D shading view, you can see there's some weirdness with the little front section of here. The window at least looks fine, but then when you get to the door section, there's a little bit of weirdness, especially in this segment over here. So I'm just gonna see if I can just smooth this out a little bit, because it just feels weird. You want to get nice curves in a car. So I have added a sort of almost, I don't know what to call that, like a little ridge line thing over there that I think could look kind of cool. You get this sort of shapy, piecey thing going over there. I've got a really great way with words, don't I? I just want to find a way to get the curves on this door to feel nice, because I quite like the way it looked in the little paint over drawing. I got some nice little smooth shape there. You sort of see it blends in with the front a little bit better, and I want to get that feeling a little bit more in here. So it might be also a case of flattening it. If we look from the front view, then you can always use your numpad keys to get your nice little switch view. Trying to be a little bit more tutorial. If I can manage to speak, I'm trying to be a little bit more trying to be a little bit more tutorially to help people like who are new to Blender. When I was editing the previous video, I was like, oh wait, I wasn't actually explaining what I was doing here. So I'm just gonna see if I can grab these verts and flatten this door section a little bit. It might make it feel a bit better. This is why I use the viewport shading. I just think of it as like the matte cap view, because it gives you this sort of nice reflection-y sort of preview over here, which can be nice to just check that the way lighting works on this shape feels better. You can do like the full rendered view, but depending on your settings and stuff, you'll have to tweak your lighting first to get that feeling right. And you can just go into the viewport settings of viewport rendering and get a default one that can work pretty well. can customize that to actually have a different view as well, which can also help you get your lighting feeling a little bit better. Not lighting, well, curves. Curves, lighting on curves. I am very great at speaking tonight. I don't think you actually told me what you thought I should do for food. I'm actually going to do a little K for knife and add in continuation of this loop down here. Think of something. Tell me your food. There are no specific options. Free reign to do whatever we want. So I'd love to have options to decide against. As it is, the only idea that I've had any like desire to stick with is to go for like Cajun food, purely because there's a character in Star Trek who makes Cajun food. I mean, Boerewors could work. You did say that. I just worry that for an international audience, they'll be like, the hell is that? Like, I feel like a food truck, you need to have like a little bit of a gimmick. And I'm not sure a Wars truck is really exciting, but maybe it is. I don't know. Oh, let me do a zoom out so you can sort of see how it's looking so far. So the idea was to just start with the basic van shapes, and then we can go over and sort of say we can add in detailing for a specific food. So we're going to go with the basic van shapes. And I'm just trying to get this door to feel nice. I feel like I need to change the geometry over here. I didn't say no, I just said maybe something else instead. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It's just, but you understand my reasoning there, like get that gimmicky food truck sort of feel. Because, you know, they always like, at least in my opinion, they go like, we do the best whatever in the world. Maybe we can do the best Boerewors truck in whatever flying futuristic city that this would be. It's another thing we need to consider is what the background will be, but that's far down the line. Okay, fine. You want Force truck? We can do a freaking Force truck. Froyo. Froyo could be an option. What do you feel about food trucks with like added shapes on them, like a hot dog truck that looks like a freaking hot truck? Why can't I speak tonight? That looks like a hot dog. Meltdown, Mobani worms. We want people to buy the food, you know? I mean, okay, that's me being mean, but I don't want to eat worms. Actually, that is a thing to consider. If we're doing this as a futuristic food truck, maybe we can do worms as a meat replacement. So maybe instead of it being a meat force roll, it's a worm force. Delicious. What's the word for that? Entomorphology or something? Let me get the word for that. Because entomology is the study of it. Entomophagy? Yeah. Assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's eating insects. Which is way more sustainable than eating meat. That could be a hook. Got futuristic flying truck in a world where going green, which means eating worms. So as I said, I was just trying to fix the curves on this door, and then we can split this vehicle up into like individual segments. So I was thinking that we can have like the doors and stuff as their own little segments on the thing. I just want to see if adding more panel-y shape to this makes it feel more interesting or worse. Afrofuturism. I mean, that is a cool thing. It is a nice idea to do something a little bit African-centered. Ah, there we go. Are those dried Mopani worms? Delissimo. Yeah, so if anyone who's watching who doesn't know what Mopani worms are, it's a South African thing. It's basically what it sounds like. Big old worms, man. Big old worms. Yum, yum, yum. Don't hate it. No, I can't say. It's something that I have a extreme urge to have. That starts to feel like a door shape there. I'm happy with that. Okay, we've got a very rough shape over here, so there's definitely some refinement we need to do to get like curves and stuff on this, like the front window. But I think before we get to that segment, I want to start just fixing up some of these things. So what I didn't like was how this, let me just make this more visible. This little curve over here looks. I want to get that more swept back and then add in like more of this. They're talking last time about sort of adding in a sort of nacelle type thing like from Star Trek. Is that what a live Mopani worm looks like? I don't think I've ever seen. It's actually quite colorful and fuzzy. Goes in your mouth. It's not even that unusual. I mean, I've seen them at the shops. All right. Yes, I thought give this video 200 likes and I will prepare and eat Mopani worms on stream and for videos to see what it's like to serve it in the food truck. Do it. Okay, so I want to go in here. I just want to add some more loops for the shape over here. Okay, so I just want to go in here, add some divisions. They're pretty shitty, but it doesn't matter because this is still our rough shapes. Remember, my geometry is always shitty at the start and at the end sometimes too. So we can always go in here and scale that like this. So I'm just saying S for scale, clamping it to the Y and going 0. So we just got a straight line over there. Because I want to get some more geometric sort of shapes on this nacelle bit over here. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I'm talking about Star Trek, because that's a lot of the inspiration for this. So I think if we can grab this down and pull it down. Okay, so going for something Afrofuturistic would be cool. Making something sort of Mopani wormy or something inspired by that could be cool. At least in that case, it's got worm in the name, so people would sort of get it, I think. I mean, the Blurivos is not a bad name. I'm just thinking because it's an international competition, people would be like, oh, what? That's not pizza. That's not a burger. It's not a taco. Am I being mean to Americans now? I'm sorry. Original, I think, can help, but it can also be like familiarity is a thing that people get drawn to as well. So if something's too weird, people will be like, nah, bruh, in exactly that voice. I'm gonna add a bevel, everyone's favorite thing on this channel, bevels. Yeah, but I think it'll also be, a food truck will be different enough for the contest because most people will be doing like, oh, let's do a freaking race car, let's do a flying, I don't know, Minority Report or whatever, you know, that sort of inspiration. Let's go Afro Gold. That could be cool. That is definitely a thing that has a strong African feel to it. Gold and wood combined just for some reason has that cool aesthetic to it. Okay, so we've got some weird curves on the top of our van over here. If you see like the light is going weird, that's just because we don't really have enough geometry in the middle of here. So I'm thinking if we just make sure we've got a little squared off segment over here. That's going to be where our food hatch, I don't know what you call it, serving area. What the hell do you call it? Customer talk to window. Yes. Great at words. Great at words. Actually, we just want to do it that little segment there. And I want to be sure it is flat. Okay, it is completely flat. So we can take that, and if we go sort of like this and plonk it up there, that it'll work well for our little awning. So I'm just gonna go boink, delete. Now we can sort of see inside. Okay, so it is being mirrored. I didn't actually think of that beforehand. So maybe we want to make that cutout a little bit later on in the process, because normally your food truck, you don't want to have customers on both sides because like you want to queue. So I might want to cut that segment out a little bit later. Didn't think about that. Okay, but the basic shapes of the van so far, what comments do you have on it? What can I add, change, subtract, completely remove? I think the front needs a little bit more like interest to it, more windows. Well, we've got the front and the driver's side windows. We've got this little light hatch here, and then we're gonna have this whole segment over here is just gonna be cut out like that for the serving zone. Do you think we need to have another window, like a little one in this segment? Because I had thought about that for a while, but I thought it started to make it seem a little bit too busy. But we could have a little window over here as well. Events at the top, that's actually a very good idea. Because when you've got a van, you generally do want to have good ventilation, especially when you've got cooking and food fumes. So we could go in here and grab this segment, and I am going to cut a little bit like that out. Often I want to go a little bit more than just a sunroof vibe. I want to do, you know, those cool little fans that you often see, little spinny little heat vent things. I think that might be a nice little thing there, just for a little bit of added interest. Or it could just be, you know, a popped open little thingy like that. But I think having those little spinny venty things on there as well could be nice. So I think we'll get our sunroof for that segment and then go in here, and if I just cut a little segment out of that, oops. Move around. Let's actually look at some reference. I think this is a good time for that. Mustn't forget to look at your reference. I actually have been looking at these sort of things just because I've had a mild interest in like van life stuff, just as a potential thing for the future, but I don't know. Van vent. So yeah, you get these just square ones with a fan inside. It's not exactly the type I was thinking of. You get these more streamlined things that should basically designed to be less noticeable. Definitely could add solar panels to the roof. Like, I feel like that's something that you would have in a future thing. Not that solar panels on cars are extremely efficient, because power requirements and efficiency of solar panels is not great. So maybe if this is like a Star Trek future, we wouldn't have that. You've got more accessible power. So see, this is actually quite a large looking vent, and I think that looks kind of cool. I like that from the inside. For this sort of vent, we would have something to look at, because we want to have a nice detailed looking interior of our van. Like that's kind of important. And this one sort of acts as a roof light as well. So maybe we go along for something along these lines, just a little bit more futuristic looking, perhaps. I still like the idea of doing like two separate things. So we've got the actual sunlight sort of thing, and then the little window behind that. So I think I'm going to grab that and just get this a little bit bigger. So we can, in this segment, have just a plain old sunroof over here. And then in this segment, we're going to have our, whatever we call this vent. So for now, I'm just going to do it like this, delete that face. And we, from the interior, can perhaps just add a matching cylinder. We don't need to go into the detailing segment of this, but I just want to get like the basic shape vibe in here. So I didn't make that very square, but it's pretty close. Let's just go into this view, and then I can grab these. And I know when I'm doing like my modeling like this, I don't talk a lot to you guys. I know I just get sort of zoned in on exactly what I'm doing, so forgive me. Let's go look at the back of a van just to get an idea of the doors. So van, yeah, we can do some cool stuff with like the paneling and reinforcement on the interior of the truck. Again, that's a future thing, but I just want to get an idea for the shape of the doors. It seems pretty simple. We've just got a split shape. It does look like the doors also curve in on the back over there for that specific type. So we've got a little bit of a curve in the shape. Not actually sure in ours. No, we've got a completely flat looking thing over here. So maybe it's time to refine this. Round it up a little bit, because we don't want to cut out these things before we've got the shape of the van itself feeling good. And then this corner itself over here just feels a little bit weird. Why is that? Let's take these, and we're going to go with active element. So the last vertex we selected, and we're going to scale it down on the X and scale it on the Y, not Z, I mean, just so it goes into one point there. I think that helps a little bit. Let's just make sure we go back to median point. So I think we want to curve this back just a little bit so that the door zone is a little bit smaller than the actual side of the van. I am in no means a professional automobile designer, but I think it's something you see every day, so you sort of get an idea of what feels right and doesn't feel right. And we're definitely not going to have a sharp edge over here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a bevel. Shrink that down a little bit. And then, oh, I just realized we got some nonsense happening at the back here because I did some weird stuff with beveling an edge. Hoi, oi, oi, that looks terrible. That's why you shouldn't bevel a thing before you're actually ready to do that. Okay, so I want to get a little bit of a knife down the edge here, just so our door doesn't overlap that segment too much. Let's just look at the back of that van again, because how far does the door go? It looks like it goes all the way down the back of the van, and then we've got the wheel wells over there. So we might want to just inset a little bit so we can have maybe like a little bit of space for lights and bumpers or something. Yeah, and maybe for a step or a ramp or something. So yeah, we want to get a little bit of space around the edge there. It might be useful to just go in here. Control numpad keys to just do the opposites. Let's turn off X-ray. We're going to go all the way down like that. And go like that as well. So then this segment over here will be our door. We want to get a little bit of a rounder shape to it because it is rather stark at the moment. I think mainly just in this top corner over here, if we do I don't want to mess with the other geometry too much. So we can do the same thing that I did earlier. We can go to active element and we can say that one, and that one all align to that one, scale it down to 0. And we can also say this one can go up there and that one can go let's go like that and say that one, scale it to Z, that one to that one, scale it to Z, do this and say merge by distance, and then we've got that little corner over there. Can always add more detail into those segments later. I just feel like it makes sense to have a little bit of a curve up there. The bottom corner I'm not as bothered by, so I'm going to inset this a little bit, and I might do a slight push inset like that, and then these faces on the edge here we don't need anymore. Let's just deselect these so we can say don't need those faces. I'm just gonna control click this edge and scale that to 0 so it all goes to the edge there. And now this piece will be what turns into our door. So we can say separate selection, and now we've got our door segment over there as a separate piece. So we just need to make sure that we don't mess with the join segments over there. You know, the edges where the two join up. So this way is just a nice way. Now we've got the doors over there. We do have a mirror modifier on here, so we can just like turn that off so you can see it's just would be in the one or the other when it's repeated. So we can add on to details of that later, but I think that looks all right. Fine for now. We'll worry about more detailing on that later. So I said I didn't really like this curvy segment over here. I think I just want to get more of a sort of a sweep back sort of aspect to it. So I think it might just be as simple as bringing that corner up a little bit and maybe just getting it to merge in with the body shape a little bit better. So I'm doing the GG for slide, and you can then hold in Alt to slide it beyond. Like I feel that little triangular bit gives it a little bit of aggressiveness, which can be kind of cool in a vehicle design. Though I think in this case it might be a little bit too much. So GG and then Alt to just slide that back a little bit. Might also just be a little bit too thick. If we take our solidify thing over here, we can, instead of being 15 centimeters, we can go down to maybe 10 centimeters. And I think this piece, which is also going to be part of like our countertop, just bring that up a little bit over there. Let's just look at it from all sides and just get a better idea. You can tell me if there's like things that you feel look weird. I kind of like the bubble window sort of shape there, but I'm not sure if I'm happy with the actual the front piece and the lower bit there. I think the top also looks a little bit too sharp on the corners. Maybe just get a little bit more rounding on there. I don't know what you feel. Just holding in shift to do more subtle bends. Yeah, that's right. And then this top piece over here, see there's like this weird little something happening there. And I think it's just that those pieces have a slight bend to them. So we could scale them down to a flat segment like that. That might also take away some of the like just charm of a little bit of a curve in the side there. Like you can barely see it when I undo it. Sometimes a little bit of an imperfection like that can be cool. Like we've also got this slightly wider segment at the top here. If you look from the top, we've got straight lines in this back segment, and then we've got this sort of wider segment that comes up over here. And I don't hate that. I think it adds a little bit of a charm to it. I might just smooth it out a little bit. Again, we're still just doing the very rough geometry. We're going to go into like more detail and like really making those corners nice. I feel this piece we can bring up a little bit as well. Just in the center of the line, just get a little bit more curved. No, that actually did the opposite and made it look worse, did it? No. I think it's just the bevel modifier doing silly things. I do want to be sure that we've got like this curve along this the window arch following through nicely, and I don't think we're getting that at the moment, because remember I said I added this sort of little archy segment over here, and it just sort of disappears up in this segment. Maybe that's something we want to continue in. So if we sort of go this piece, take that up to like there, we can perhaps get something feeling a little bit more interesting. So we're just going to go from the front view in here and get that feeling a little bit more deliberate looking. So at the moment you see it's sort of got a weird mix of things. So I want to say that segment should be a straight line. And then we've got a little bit of weirdness from the side view over here. Just bring that in over there. And it might not be the most intelligent thing for aerodynamics, but I think it's just a nice idea to have a little bit of a detailing thing of interest for the shape of the vehicle. And it just sort of accentuates this sort of quarter circle shape we've got at the front over here. We've got that little line in the corner there, which will just draw the eye a little bit to it. When we've got a little bit more detail in that, I think you'll see exactly what I'm meaning. And I think maybe this segment, it just needs to be a little bit wider. See, I like how it adds just a change in the lighting of that surface. Get that feeling for the change of the curvature over there. Remember, it's a van, we're not doing like a sports car, so it doesn't need to be the most streamlined thing, it just needs to look cool. Okay, so this vert over here is doing some weird stuff. So you can see there's a little bit of weirdness. This quad over here, you can see the lighting, it's getting this funny little bend over there. That's because it's a quad, and when we do this bevel over here, it's sort of folding it in half. But when we actually get to refining the shapes later, we'll fix that. So it's not actually an issue, it just looks like one now. Okay, what I don't like is this main windscreen over here just feels very flat on the edge. So just we're gonna bubble it out a little bit on the corners. Just look from the top. And that's partly why I like using this view with the sort of the madcap light probe sort of thing over there, just so we can get reflections, just to get a feel for the change in the lighting. Otherwise you're either going to have something like the just the flat shape over here. You can do like matte caps in the other view, which can sometimes also work well. Another way that you can actually make it work a little bit better is to turn on cavity, and that sort of accentuates hard edges, which can be useful for getting a feel for things like this. So it actually does show me that there's a little bit of something funny over here still. So switching between lighting modes can sometimes be useful for this sort of thing. Got some funny geometry stuff over here. The problem is, I think, yeah, that's connected to our shading. But if we do the GG, the grab and slide, it'll keep it along the same position, so you're not actually messing too much with the geometry. But when it's a large area like this, it can change shapes quite a lot. I think in this case, it's fine. Now we just got it looks a little bit neater. So let's go back to the cavity view. Some weirdness over here in this segment where we joined up those pieces. So maybe we want to get that blending in a little bit smoother over there. I think for where we were adding these vents and stuff, we definitely want to also add some aerodynamics by sort of sliding these a little bit forward, get a little bit of just a slope on there so it feels a little bit better. Because I scaled it, these pieces aren't constrained to the mirrored edge there, but that's fine. So we've got a lot of weirdness happening here with this little dome window over here, but I think that'll be fixed when we start actually separating the pieces and adding like bevels and stuff, so I'm not going to worry too much at the moment. Windscreen is fine. It's just this little funniness happening over here where we've got this switch between the two different materials. We've got the glass, we've got the windows, and we've got the two little colors over here. I think it just looks odd. Let's go in here and just, I think maybe just even dragging the line between the two paints to match from the front might work. So yeah, I think there is some weirdness happening here as we transition. So let's just, we want that nice curve to come up over there and then blend into how the doors are going, I think. So maybe we want to go lower like this. But now, because we changed that, it looks different from the front. Though I don't think bad. We can just bring that piece up a little bit. Like that. I think that follows that curve through a little bit better. I think the curve on the door is looking pretty nice now. There's still a little bit of weirdness there, but again, that's just mostly, I think, from the bevel. So yeah, what I wanted to now look at is this sort of nacelle sort of, this feeling better. That's just, I don't know, I can't get it feeling the way I want. Like I wanted to blend in with the shape, but I also wanted to look, you know, like this is where the mechanics or electronics or gravimetrics or whatever, you know, the fancy sci-fi stuff that makes this thing float. That's where all that stuff sits. So we want to make it feel substantial, but also elegantish. I am great with language. I mean, we could do something like adding inlets and stuff, so sort of like feels like there could be air or something coming, you know, blowing through there. Though I don't really want it to be sort of an air-powered thing. I want it to be sort of, you know, Star Trek hovery sort of stuff. But I do feel like having some sort of venting or something here might make it feel a little bit more interesting. This is purely a rule of cool style design because we're not doing actual mechanics in this, so if it looks good, it's good. Not like some of the previous things we've done for these challenges is actually making it a vehicle that works. we're gonna do it just something that feels cool. So maybe that's the way to go. And now we've got some weirdness happening over here with this shape. We could bring that in so that that sort of shape flows in under that piece there, but I don't quite like that. I feel like it should be more backwards, so we can sort of hark into like regular car sort of wheel well ideas. Maybe if we start looking at other sections, we can sort of bring that back in there. Oh, I've done something weird over here. What has happened over here? When I was messing with one of those things, I mucked that up. Cool. So I think we want to bring in some sort of raised segment on here. That's what I was thinking. If you're just looking on the design over here, maybe having this as sort of two different levels. We've got the white segment as a slightly raised piece, and then we've got this corner piece that sort of blends in there a little bit differently as well. I kind of like that. Maybe just getting more of a curve on that edge as well. So let's have a look at what we've got. What I'm going to try here is just making that a completely flat segment over here and rotating the whole piece as one. That might be more than what we're looking for over here. So we can get that segment, we can get these, and maybe rotate this whole segment over here just a little bit more inwards. And we can bring this piece in a little bit, because then we can get that slightly more aggressive, Foster looking, like a beak to the shape. It's just a little bit of something that pulls forward, and it feels like it sort of scrapes through a little bit, kind of like that. Maybe if we grab these pieces of here, I'm not just going to a completely different segment again. That's how my brain works. I start off looking at one segment and I'm like, oh, okay, now this piece looks worse. Still not happy with how this works. What I might do is just go in here and fill that a little bit simpler, because I do like the general shape we're getting over here. I do feel what might be the problem is this line sort of doesn't connect to anything. So we've got this, let's just look from the side, we've got this swooping curve along the front of the window that connects to the front of it, the side of it, and then follows through with this curve, which is very similar, that goes along into the counter over there. But then this curve over here doesn't actually connect with anything. It's just sort of a line in the middle of nowhere. So maybe what I need to do to get like visual consistency in here, and let me just put X-ray on, is we want to have that follow along with the curve that we have coming from the front. So let's see, does that actually make it feel better? Maybe in some ways. I think that just gets a little bit too blocky in this segment. But you see what I mean? Like now that that line follows through with some of the other curves, it feels more cohesive. But it doesn't quite work for what I'm going for over here. But maybe it's just because it's too fat along this segment over here. So let's grab all these. So that goes along, we've got that curve over there. That actually might have helped. So what we could even do then is we can go in here and we can add a secondary version of this curve. I just want to see if this makes any sense at all. Just want to get that shape feeling interesting. Let's maybe make that segment a little bit smaller. So then this will be like harking back to the shape of a conventional vehicle. So we've got the front wheel area and then the rear wheel area, though no wheels involved here. just thinking bringing through some of those curve shapes a little bit better. Add a little bit of a bevel there just to get the light falling on that better, just for the viewing over here. Purely adding those just for the shape at the moment. I think that definitely does help. It gives it a more of a car feel, because just the way we used to cars, we've got front and back wheels, and then this, even though it's not actually a wheel, but it just sort of makes us feel like there could be one there. And then we've got the curves flowing through there. Maybe we can make this piece a little bit flatter, just because so it can connect to the shapes above it directly. Don't know about that. I think the sort of more aerodynamic curve over there feels a little bit better. Maybe even bring that up like that. I don't know. It has helped, I think. You tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. Anyone got any opinions on shapes that feel wrong or that I should change? Otherwise, I think I'm probably going to work on a lot of this off stream, because at the moment I'm mucking about and I don't feel like I'm getting a lot done, and I feel like I just need to stare at it for a while, you know. There's definitely been some improvements, but there's also some things that I'm not happy with. This segment over here, where this arch blends in with this shape, I think I just need to reconstruct that with a nice little curve on top. I'm very happy with the door segment and this little curve over here. I think we can just smooth out some of the segments, but it looks pretty nice. I like the shape of the window, but there's a lot that needs to be done over here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this off stream for a while, come back with some more and better ideas as well for the food ideas that you've had. I think you've had some cool ideas and I like them. We'll see if we can gel those up into one solid sort of food choice thing. But there's still time to sort of go in and change that. I just need to get this body shape right. I'm not happy. I could say that about a lot of things. But anyway, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. Fairly short stream today. But getting back into it. And yeah, I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.